And we are all divided around one certain thing. What really happened when we had the game between Argentina and Egypt? It's the FIFA Roundup show on Atlantic TV. My name is Richard Nwaji. Welcome to the show. And something is really happening. It's the World Cup period happening in Mexico, Canada, and USA. And we are all debating about something very, very serious, which of course happened in the round of 16 match between Argentina and Egypt. And some will say we are all divided. Some will say it's the Messi fans versus the Ronaldo fans, all taking sides around what happened yesterday in the World Cup match. On the show today, as usual, we'll look at what happened in the fixtures we had yesterday. Teams getting ready for the quarterfinals and, of course, playing their round of 16 matches. We'll also talk about the big man of the day. And the most recent part of the show today is we have our own very own Pooja, Atlantic correspondent in USA, with us as usual. He was in that match yesterday covering the game between Egypt and Argentina. And also we have Mr. Wada joining us all the way from Abuja, and Chukwudumebi from Lagos. And we'll all together bring you the biggest show on TV when it comes to the World Cup, where we are covering every single moment around the World Cup. Welcome to the FIFA World Cup Roundup Show. And many will call this the most controversial issue so far in the World Cup in 2026. For some people, it's normal when we have controversial issues. The question around whether we should trust the VAR or whether the VAR it's taking the game backwards or is an improvement. Now, this has become the talking point from the game between Egypt and Argentina, where many football fans are divided about what really happened. The World Cup is giving us all the fever, and this is what we expected, having controversial issues. And of course, on the show today, we'll try to dissect these issues and break it down for you to understand what really happened yesterday, and for you to understand whether you think the VAR got that decision right or wrong. And of course, we'll make sure you have the whole full package. It's the FIFA World Cup Roundup Show. Richard Nwaji is the name. Atlantic TV already is the station you're with right now. Thank you for joining us. And let's go straight and start with the games that happened yesterday in the round of 16, where we had Argentina playing against Egypt. It was a very, very interesting, game where the game ended 3-2, but with a lot of controversy. Egypt leading by 2 goals, and it took Argentina about 10 minutes to turn everything around, and they won by 3-2. Messi missing a penalty in the game, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Switzerland and Colombia, the game ended goalless. I went to penalty shootout. Switzerland win the game, and they're ready to play Argentina in the quarterfinals. But the talking point is still there, and that is why we're going to take our time to dissect what really happened yesterday. We'll get the view from someone who was close to the post, who was live in the stadium in Atlanta, watching that particular game live with his camera. We'll also get the view of someone who was in Abuja, who follows the game, has followed the game for a very long time, and of course, talk to Chukwudumebi in Lagos. Now let's go straight to Atlanta, and of course, join Pooja, also join Wada, who is also waiting for us on the show today. If you can hear me, Pooja, how are you doing this very, very interesting evening? Of course, top of the morning to you there in Atlanta.
Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing over there?
You were in the stadium and you watched that particular game, and that game have gotten everybody talking. It was a very, very controversial one yesterday. First of all, let's try to outline it, starting from where Egypt scored that supposed second goal, which was ruled out due to a tackle on Martinez, and when Salah Salah got down inside the penalty box, and it led to the goal of Argentina. Now the question is, from the first point, which is the second goal, the supposed second goal that Egypt scored, that particular tackle, do you think VAR got that decision right or wrong yesterday? From that the second goal that Egypt scored.
Okay, so we have to talk about context here, because there are a lot of talking points, a lot of back and forth on that particular game. But I think if you look at competitions, I think we've seen that kind of VAR call at AFCON. We saw it against we saw it even for Nigeria against South Africa. When it was called back. In terms of a foul. But if you look at the Premier League, which most of us consume, I think it that really consume the Premier League. And for Premier League, they talk about pattern and transition stages. So if it were to be in the Premier League, I don't think VR will go back to that, go back to that extent to cancel the goal. But of course, that tackle on Lisandro Martinez was actually a foul. It was a foul. But what people are talking about is the transition because it didn't lead to the goal directly. Uzam Mazan actually did a very, CD had a lot to do when it comes to getting that goal, getting the pass to Salah before Salah now passed to
I think we're
or
having
any
network.
lead
Okay, we
to
have you
any.
back. Okay, okay, we
It didn't need to. It didn't need to any goal. So I think, though fair enough, it was a big foul, a big call. Of course, it will actually talk to turn to a talking point. But in a nutshell, it was a foul, and the VAR was right to go back and call it because at the end of the day, that foul led to a goal for Egypt.
points. Salah going down inside the penalty box. Do you think Salah was meant to go down, or do you think it was a right call that was not a foul before the goal of call it Argentina?
Like I always say, it's all about context. I think if you can give that Martinez foul as a foul, there's no need. There's no way you can give that Mo Salah foul not a foul. But unfortunately, it happened in the box, and for a penalty to be given at that stage, you have to be very, very, major. So if that foul happened to be outside the box, I think it will be a callback. But for a callback for a penalty for that soft foul in quotes, I don't think it will go. It will happen. Of course, it was a foul, but there's a different kind of foul. If there's a simple push done in gameplay, of course it will be a foul. But if there's a simple push inside the box, the referee will not give. You have to be obvious or mistake for the VAR to call back the referee. So I think, unfortunately, it happened in the box for Salah, and unfortunately for Argentina, the Martinez foul happened outside the box. So people can say, okay, fine, FIFA is doing partial. I don't think that it's partial. I just think it's contest. I just think, we are too emotional as fans. I think the referee was, fair enough yesterday. But of course, as per fans, those who support, emotions will overshadow us. But at the end of the day, I think it was the right call by the VAR and the ref on Salah foul.
The debate around whether soft penalty really exists or soft tackle or soft foul really exists in football, we'll be on that discussion on that day. But let me go to Chukwudumebi in Lagos. Now tell us, what are you thinking from Martinez going down, to Salah going down? What's your own thought? Do you think the referee got it right? Did Vera get it right yesterday in the game between Argentina and Egypt?
Okay, so first of all, I think that on the first watch, it could have been, you would have said, okay, yeah, that was the call that could have been given almost immediately. Now, my own stance on it is that I think VAR should have called the referee to go back and watch that replay. I'm talking about Salah's foul right now. If you talk about the Martinez foul, of course that was a foul because when I saw it, I knew it was a foul. But my own issue is the whole, like Pooja said, the context of how long it took to go back to recall that second goal by Egypt was one of the most beautiful goal in this tournament, if not one of the best. And you having to call that back all the way back, it was some referee would have given it, some wouldn't have given it, So that's where there's a bit of a conversation, how long it took to call that. Some referee would have given it, some wouldn't have given it. And of course for Salah, it looks like a very soft touch. Let me put it like that. And for what Pooja said, yes, because of the time of when the game is, it was at the critical point of where the game is about to end. You can't just give a penalty take. But the referee, I think, should have gone back. They should have called him to go back and see it in the VAR. So these are some of the issues that we'll keep having, left, right, and center. The inconsistencies of VAR having to decide, if this goal will stand, if there's a free kick or not. it almost feels like you're taking the power away from the referee. So what that means is why do we have a referee on the pitch if we have to always call back the VAR to go back and check for something? So it's very dicey, to be honest. It's very, very dicey. That could have been given by another referee. That could have not been given by another referee. But at the end of the day, VAR is will have to come in question, because really the referee is there. Why is the referee there, and why do we have to go back to VAR? So at the end of the day, because we have a lot of anti-Messi fans or Messi fans, or those that are debating that he's the GOAT, he's not the GOAT, these are these are kind of matches that will come into question. That is this this whole thing designed, for Messi in the World Cup again? So I mean, lots of questionable calls, but we'll keep debating it at the end of the day.
Thank you, Chukwudumebi. Now let's move to Abuja and let's join Wada. Wada Jr. I've followed up your different talking points on social media where you have different takes. You followed the game yesterday. Now tell me, what's your thought around that particular tackle, Martinez, and that of Salah?
Actually, just like Pooja said, what I understand from that particular game yesterday was the situation between Martinez and Mo Salah happened in different areas. To award that penalty to Mo Salah, it will be very, very difficult. So the VAR and the refs saw the situation and they feel like that soft tackle to lead to penalty, it will be difficult. And for them to stop that play that time, for them to stop the play, it will be difficult. So that is what led to Argentina third goal. So I understand the aspect that the call is not wrong. Then on the aspect of Martinez, I understand the play as well, and I see the call was a good call, because if you check how the matching and everything, the thing warrant the goal to be cancelled, to be honest. And if you check that situation too, it's not closer to inside the team yard box. So to me, the call was good. And I don't see anything like bias or corruption in that place. All these things, we see it in Premier League. I think Man United against Bournemouth one certain time, Amad Diallo tried to make one dribble like that, and the guy was pushed inside the 18-yard box. And immediately, Bournemouth made the counter attack, and they scored Man United. Man U tried to call, and the goal stand. Similar situation. Harry Maguire tried to stop one guy like that, and I sent off. So if you check, all this stuff happening. So to me, I don't see it as bad call from the ref. I think just the reason why people are pulling things is because of the player involved in the country, Lionel Messi. If it is not Argentina involved, I think people will not be seeing all this stuff. So all these things is something we have seen in the time past. You cannot expect something to go in some people's way in 100%. So the call from the ref, I see it as something that is good, to be honest.
Talking around the call from the ref, people all agree it's good. Now let's talk about African teams. What's the issue around African teams? And I'll be going to Pooja. Now, talking about African teams, the reason why we've seen Cote d'Ivoire, we've seen DR Congo, we've seen, I think, we saw Egypt yesterday, and one particular thing that's gotten many people talking around the fact that these particular teams always lead the matches, and before we know, within a short while, they are not able to hold themselves back, and we see them conceiving. Now, Pooja, what do you think is the issue with African teams? Now, why do you think is African teams cannot be able to hold it down for like 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes? Why would they have to let the goal go in when they are supposed to be defending?
Okay, so quick one. So yesterday, before that Egypt game, I was one of the school of thought that believed that, we need psychologists to African football. Before they hire a coach, you have to go for a psychologist. But after that game yesterday, which of course I saw live in the stadium, I felt like, African teams lack quality. We lack quality players. I think we have, of course, majority of African teams have a better starting 11. But when it comes to maybe a better maybe a better bench, I don't think they have that quality. I think it's only Morocco that have that level of better quality, like their starting level. You could see that when Sabari got injured, the likes of Raimi got in and got a goal against Canada. So it looks like they are balanced. They are starting line up and they are substitution. But if you look at the other African teams, it's a bit far from from each other, because That game yesterday, Uzam Azan, who got the assist from the second goal, was substituted I think in the 75th minute, and that pace collapsed. That penetration from that right side collapsed. And what did what was it called? Scolari did. He removed the ball and he brought on Lautaro Martinez. And he did remove Alvarez. Before it was to be Martinez for Alvarez. But yesterday he left the two strikers on the pitch because there was no threat anymore. Immediately, Uzam Azan left that pitch, the quality dropped. And that's what happened to African football. We need, our starting 11 is perfect. But once there's a substitution in quotes, there's low in quality, and that's what happened. Away from psychology, of course, psychology can work because back to back we'll be considered late in games, talking about African teams. But I will say, after that game yesterday, I felt like our starting 11 quality is not as par as the substitution, and that happened against Algeria. And for a team like Argentina that played like four defensive midfielders, even before that game, shows that they know the strength of the starting 11 of Egypt. And immediately they left, they continued to bring out those quality out of the team. Look at what Scolani did. He didn't even, try to, defend again. He continued to brought in, offensive players, and that's what happened. So I think quality-wise, look at Argentina. They substituted their players. The quality that come on was high-level quality again. And for Algeria, for Egypt, the quality that came on for the starting 11 was below par. So I think quality is the key thing away from the psychology that we are all talking about.
Because Pooja is stressing quality and psychology. Now, so maybe do you agree with Pooja? Or you believe there is something, maybe the superior or inferiority complex? What do you think around the issue around African teams not holding themselves down in the last 10 minutes of the game?
When you say quality, I think it's more of a mental thing. To be honest, that's what I think. It's almost like we feel there's some kind of inferiority complex coming into play here. Because really, when you say quality, I'm not going to sit down here and say African teams don't have quality players. We have quality players, but I think it comes down to your mental capacity and your mental strength. You have an Argentine team defending world champions, two goals down. Probably if you were to be another country, probably
I think we're having issues with Chukwudumebi's network. And okay, can you hear me? Wada now, tell me something. What do you think around African teams? Do you agree with Pooja around the fact that you believe maybe psychology effects?
Yeah, with what Pooja said, in addition to what he said, I think experienced coaches, to be honest, because I have the belief that African countries will dominate this World Cup because how they perform from the preseason. And going into the World Cup, I saw the game between Senegal and France. From the beginning, Senegal came out to play France as if they are equal team. And depth and everything, I think both of them are equal. But a minute before the game ended, we saw what happened. And Germany goes as well. I thought that maybe Ivory Coast will learn their lesson from Senegal. And they performed well, they started well. But during or prior to the end of the game, similar thing happened. They lost the game. Now, going into the knockout stage, all these people will be performing well from first minute of the game to 60 minutes of the game. At the end, they will joke it. So, to me, I think experienced coaches matters because I don't see any reason why Senegal will be beating Belgium 2-0 at the end of the game. They lost 3-2. The same thing happened between Egypt and Argentina. And somebody wants me to believe that it's corruption. No, I think experience matters. Now, Pooja cited an example on when this guy was being subbed off of the game, and Argentina capitalized on that stuff by introducing Lautaro Martinez together with Julian Alvarez, who was already on the pitch. And we saw what happened. So, to me, we lack experienced coaches to understand from this game.
Experienced coaches on Africa not doing. Chukwudumebi, you were saying something. If you can hear me clearly, You were saying something. Okay, I think she have network issues right now. Let's talk about the game today. Okay, Chukwudumebi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You were saying something about you're dropping your points. Let me just allow you to land.
Yes, so I was saying that I think it's more of the mentality thing than the physical. Than we saying we don't have so many quality players. I mean, we saw how Capo Verde held, against Argentina. They told themselves that they could do it, but we've also seen over time when African teams, you'd want to think that they should be able to hold their own even towards the end of the game. For a long time, I usually think that it was just only peculiar to the Super Eagles, where we would be leading a match, and all we just need to do is to hold it till the end of the game, and we end up conceding very silly goals, which is one of the reasons why Nigeria is not at the World Cup. We've seen that in this World Cup against South Africa match. We saw it with the Ivory Coast team. We saw it with Senegal. So with this match, aside the whole controversy surrounding, what happened with what the referee did and what VAR did, the Egyptian team, I think that they didn't do so much to hold their own down, because you cannot tell me that you don't have an excuse to hold a lead. In as much as we know that the Argentine team will come out at you and do everything that it can, that's also, from what I'm saying, still suffices that it boils down to mentality. The Argentine team could have told themselves that no, these Egyptians are coming so hard on them, but they also told themselves that they could do it, and which is, of course, they did. And of course, having the Messi factor, because you cannot have one of the greatest on the pitch and not think that something magical will not happen. Of course, it will happen, but you not have to. You have to prove that you're capable of holding your own. And yes, we don't have it. Mentality-wise, African players, it's something that we are really lacking. Do we have quality? We have quality, honestly, but I don't think when it comes to the mental capacity, with holding our own down, we don't have it. We really don't.
Right, thank you very much. Now we have another African nation playing today, and some will call this the last hope of Africa. Yes, Morocco against France. Now, Pooja, very interesting game around Morocco against Morocco against France. I think that game is tomorrow, if I'm correct. Now we have one African nation remaining. That is France against Morocco. That game will be tomorrow. But let's talk about the game right now. Now, do you see the only African nation remaining in the World Cup having their way through? Talk about the Morocco will go against France.
Well, it's a very difficult game because France have been flawless. They've been the better team at this World Cup. 5 straight wins. Even against Paraguay, that look like they're going to, face a very hard team, a very physical team. They match, Paraguay with strength, physicality for physicality, and they got that win and even a clean sheet. So, going into this game, I think, mentality-wise, experience-wise, and even the bragging right. Remember, they defeated Morocco in the semi-final, last time out in Qatar 2022. So it looks like, there's everything working for Morocco, for France. And like I said, quality-wise, their bench is star-studded, Now, in like the last 2 games, Bakula is starting over Doué now in the game. We've seen, even, Kante have not even no minutes at all at this tournament. We've seen, big tournament like Thuram not even playing, Mateta just few minutes in 5 games. So it looks like they are the favorite to win the World Cup based on quality-wise. But Morocco has hold down their own at this tournament. They played against through the biggest side, Brazil. They played against the host country, talking about Canada. They've lost their, striker, Sabari to injury. So it looks like that could actually affect them. But like I said, the likes of Raimi and the other guy came in against Canada and they did the job. And one thing Morocco have done as well is against Canada, they didn't look pretty in the first half. But that's stuff of champion. That's stuff of, that's mentality. In the second half, they came out in the second half and they did a good job. So, sometimes games will not be rosy. Against Paraguay, France, it wasn't rosy for France, but they did the business. In the first half of Canada, for France, Morocco against Canada, it wasn't rosy for Morocco, and they did the job. So, all in all, I think there are two sides who know themselves very well. They play together, and I think if any African team can knock out France, it will be Morocco, but it will be very difficult because they've taken the bucket as well. You know, they have mentality, they have quality, their experience as well. But the only thing that can mess them up in court is their manager. You know, their manager is not experienced. This is his fifth, professional in coach. At the World Cup because he was the underage coach from the under-20. So it looks like if anything will happen in that game, it will be Deschamps, the coach of France, versus the coach of Morocco. And I think if that comes to play, I think France will win it and get to the semi-final of the World Cup.
Right, Pooja. Now let's talk to Chukwudumebi in Lagos. Now, what do you think? We have the only African representative right now. Many people are hoping that Morocco will do what happened, will repeat 2022 again and get the semi-finals. Morocco, France, your thoughts?
Morocco France have an unstoppable offense, and like I said, Morocco is since I started watching Morocco in this tournament, I was telling someone I think after their second match that it's almost like I'm watching an European team play with the way the Moroccans play, their style of play, their mentality. I feel like they will go, toe to toe with France in this World Cup. Yeah, France going into this game as the favorites, obviously because of the kind of players that they have. But I think Morocco can also hold their own, and I think they have, like I said, mentality wise, I think they have what it takes to hold their own against France. It's going to be difficult. And it's a very close one. Yes, France have beaten Morocco before, but this is a different ball game. We've seen a lot of drama in this World Cup. We've seen upsets, But I think Morocco can take one. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's going to be an easy ride for them, but I think it's going to be a very close one. If possible, we might even see we might see the match going into extra time and possibly a penalty to decide. But time will tell. A few hours to go, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Wada Jr. Now tell me, what do you think?
Well, I see this game as a game between a favorite team and one of the strongest underdogs. So this game is going to be tough for both teams. One of the reasons is because this Morocco have tasted something that I don't think they expected it before for reaching where they reached last time in Qatar. So, and they got knocked out by this France team. Now, this France, they just want to win the World Cup. They have the team capable of doing it. And they are meeting this Morocco like this now. It's not going to be an easy game for both teams. I know France have the high chance because of the squad depth. They have players that can, they have players that can make up two teams, and these two teams can beat anything. Then this Morocco, they are a kind of team that they know what they want, and they have already experienced these things in the time past, and they believe that meeting this Morocco with one mind, they are capable of beating them. And meeting this France again, they are capable of beating them. They have, but their issue, this African mentality, starting well from the beginning and at the end of the game, you jeopardize this thing. But I believe they have learned a lot from what happened to other African nations. Now, I see this game as a game that is going to be a go-go, and it will end draw in full time, then go into extra time, and the game will be decided without penalty. That is what I think about this game, to be honest.
All right, thank you very much, Pooja in Atlanta. Thank you for joining us. Well, you're smiling, I don't know what to say, but thank you for joining us today on the show. Chukwudumebi, all the way from Lagos. Thank you very much for joining us. And also, Wada Jr. from Abuja, thank you for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate you. All right, that is what we have from Atlanta down to Lagos, down to Abuja, covering everything that concerning the World Cup. Now let's move from there and let's talk about something very interesting. So we still have the World Cup roundup show still on. Yes, a real big package for you. And going forward, we'll also have this big package in every show until we get done with the World Cup. All right, let's talk about something very interesting. And let's look at who is our man of the day. Now, we always have the man of the day. We'll talk about that particular person who has stood out or stand out, what English you want to use, but who made the day for us. And we are picking up one man, Messi. All right, Messi is the man of the day today, and we're all celebrating Messi with his great and beautiful performance where we saw Messi do well for the Argentine team. He missed the penalty, yes. He missed against Austria, missed the penalty yesterday against talk about the African team, Egypt. Yes, but he had a way to come back. He gave an assist and scored a goal. Currently, the highest goal scorer in the World Cup. So we celebrate Messi today. He keeps writing his name on gold. And someone said, "What would football be without Messi?" It was a real emotional roller coaster yesterday. From being super happy to when we all had to start thinking about what was going to happen. I was like, Argentina out. It happened at table stone. And Argentina smiled, right? That's football for you. And we're celebrating Messi today. Now let's look at the top goal scorers in the World Cup so far. When we talk about Messi, Messi is leading with 8 goals. Yes, super Messi. We are proud of Messi, what Messi is doing. 8 goals from Messi. Mbappe, 7 goals. Erin Highland, 7 goals. Harry Kane, 6 goals. Dembele, 4 goals. And the battle is on to the last game. Don't forget that the Golden Boot is the prestigious boot that goes to the highest goal scorer of the World Cup. And many are putting their eyes on, are putting their money also on Messi and Kylian Mbappe. Many believe one of them will definitely win the Golden Boot. But let's see what happens around that. And towards trending, the favorite part of the show where we look at those issues that happen outside the field, but really love to talk about them. Now let's talk about Messi yesterday. Very emotional guy. Yes, Ronaldo cried. He left the World Cup. Neymar cried because he left the World Cup. But in this particular time, this particular guy did not just cry because he left the World Cup. He cried because he's going to still remain in the World Cup. Pooja, who got this a very emotional clip for us, and that's what football is all about. Joy, we call it tears of joy, right? Yes, tears of joy. Let's talk about something very interesting also too. But this time around, interesting in the sense that we ask ourselves, we've had these discussions with Chukwudumebi, with Pooja, with Wada also to around whether the game yesterday was a game that was basically not in the right manner. The debate around, was this game really out racism, bad decision making? We've had a discussion. Now, after the game yesterday, we have something that happened that got many people talking. Now, where we saw the coach of Egypt, in a very wrong act. Where we saw him, he had to protest. He had to protest, and at a particular time, we saw him as fans of Argentine fans yesterday. So different talking points, but look at him there. Many believe that this is out of the game. He was angry. He called it racism. He called it to favor Argentina, favor Messi, and many will call this one of those very wrong acts that should never happen. Never happen. Look at him. Football is all about love. Never happen. And so we're so disappointed. All right, from there, we'll talk about something very interesting around the fact that the FIFA World Cup show is going to the next phase. And the next phase of the FIFA World Cup roundup show is going to be not just in the studio, from the streets around Delta State, and of course from the streets around Atlanta, from the streets around New York, from the streets around Lagos. It's going to be the next level of the FIFA Roundup show on Atlantic TV. Thank you for joining me on the show today. I'll see you in the next edition. Don't forget, keep talking sports. It's the World Cup period. My name is Richard G.